Hey guys, it's Trina, and today I'm going to be doing my June reading wrap-up. So I had a really good reading month. I ended up reading 6 books, and to some people that's not a lot, but to me that's pretty good. So I'm really excited about talking about them because I really loved all the books I read, so I'm just going to get into it. The first book I read in the month of June was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 4th installment of the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. So this book isn't actually a full book, it's a novella. The first 3 books in the series do complete a trilogy, but she's planning on continuing the series with a new trilogy. And this book kind of just ties in where all the characters are after the big war that happens at the end of the 3rd book, and what they're up to. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the series, but this story follows themes of royalty and fairies and magic, and is just one of my favorite series that I've come across this year. And this was just a fun little read. It's very character driven rather than plot driven, because it's more of a transition book rather than a book in and of itself. But I did really enjoy this. I think it would be a fun read in the winter time around Christmas, because it does take place during the winter solstice. And it was really fun to just see how the characters are coping with the fallout from the war. The next book I read in the month of June was The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. This is a reimagining of The Little Mermaid. It follows our main character Gaia, who is a mermaid, but she longs to be a human. She has a fascination with the human world. It is almost a direct retelling of the original story, and the original Hans Christian Andersen story is pretty dark, and this one follows more of that darker end than the Disney adaptation. But it also has really strong feminist themes, which I really enjoyed about it. I really loved the way it was written. It was spoken like a fairy tale, but longer, and I thought it was just fascinating, and the things they added to the story that weren't in the original I really loved, and I liked seeing the dynamics between the family and some of the darker themes that happened in the main character's past. There was also a strong connection between the main character and her mother that wasn't really there in the original. Her mother has passed away at the present time of this novel, but there is definitely a strong connection she has with her. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was definitely pretty dark, but I recommend it for any fans of the original fairy tale. So one thing physically I love about this book is not only the beautiful cover, but also on the inside, if you open it up, there's scales like a mermaid tail, and I just love that. Details just make everything. The next book I read in June was Ink by Alice Broadway. First of all, can we just take a look at the cover? This has really been the month of beautiful covers. Like the last 2 books I mentioned also had beautiful covers, but I really love this book, and the cover actually the cover actually continues on the inside, if you can see that. Oh, my life. So this book follows the story of our main character Leora, and it's a bit of a dystopian world. Basically, everyone is told in their world that they have to mark on their skin with tattoos all the good things, bad things they've done in their lives, any major achievements. Basically, their entire skin is marked up with everything that has happened in their life. And at the end of their lifespan, if you are squeamish, I would recommend skipping this. Basically, their tattoos and the skin underneath comes off and is displayed in a skin book, so people down the line can look at their book and know what kind of person they are. In this world, they believe that if you have a good skin book, then your soul will basically go to heaven, and if you don't, you'll be damned. The main character Leora's father has passed away, and she knew him as a very good man, but one day she discovers that he had a mark of the forgotten, which is known to be reserved for only the worst people. So it's about her trying to discover what her father did and why he did these things. And as she's doing all this, she's discovering that her world might be a lot darker than she originally thought it to be. There are people in our world known as the blanks, and there are people who choose not to mark themselves, and they've always been treated in their world as terrible people, but she starts to doubt this truth that she's been told throughout this book. I thought this was a really fascinating concept. I really like the writing. The author actually wrote this during NaNoWriMo, which, if you don't know, it's a novel writing contest that takes place in the month of November, where you write a novel in a month. So considering she wrote this book in a month, like, it's pretty good. But I know that it's going to be a trilogy. I think the second book's out already. But yeah, I thought it was just such a cool concept, and it did end up having a pretty powerful message, and it was a very interesting new form of dystopia that I hadn't seen before, so I thought it was very fascinating, and I definitely recommend it. The next book I read in June was called Under Rose-Tainted Skies, and it's by Louise Gournall. So this book follows our main character Nora, who's struggling with her OCD and agoraphobia. With these issues, she also has problems with depression and anxiety, and all these mental health issues have made her feel like she's not living her life to the fullest. For those of you who don't know, agoraphobia is a mental illness that prevents you from feeling safe to go outside. I found this book represented mental illnesses in a very true and honest way. Partway through the book, a new boy moves in beside her, and she finds herself becoming friends with him. It starts with notes through her mailbox and then expands from there, but she's just afraid of letting him into her life because she knows that she struggles with so many things and just doesn't think that he'll be able to understand that. So it's about her coming to terms with her mental illness and trying to find a way to let family and friends into her life, which she has not been able to do in the past. I think this book was really well written. I like that they incorporated therapy into it and showed therapy in a way that's very accurate. Her mental illness was brutal, and it was very hard to read about at times, which is very realistic to what it is to live with a mental illness. And I also thought that it was very good at not romanticizing the illness, which is something that I find is common in a lot of books, and it has bothered me, but this book definitely did not do that, which I really appreciated. It's a beautiful story, but I will put a trigger warning on for self-harm. If that's something that you are severely affected by, you might not want to read this book. Other than that, it was an incredible story, and I highly recommend it. The next book I read in June was Adultolescence by Gabby Hanna. For those of you who don't know, Gabby Hanna is a YouTuber. Her channel is called The Gabby Show, and she recently wrote a book of poems. I really enjoyed this. It definitely was a good balance between dark and deeper poems and like more light ones. It followed different aspects of her life and things she's learned from them. And I liked the way it was formatted. I liked that it had that kind of balance to show that there's good things and bad things in life. I do think Gabby has a talent for poetry, and I hope to see more of her work. The last book I read in June is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. This book was very tough and very powerful. It follows our main character named Eden, who has been raped by her brother's best friend before she goes off to high school. This book is separated into 4 parts, and those 4 parts are her 4 years of high school. It's about her coming to terms with this trauma that's happened to her. We see her kind of spiral because of this trauma, and we see her at times needing help desperately but not knowing how to get it. It's just a very real and raw depiction of this sensitive issue. I definitely cried a lot while reading this book. It's a tough one to get through, but oh my gosh, is it powerful, and I think it's such an important read. And you see the character mature through her years of high school and change, and I really enjoyed that about it too. The writing style changes in a way every year, which is accurate to how people change as they get older. At times the main character is almost frustrating because you see her spiraling and you see that she needs help, but that was very real because people who've gone through this often don't feel that the resources are there for them, and rather than confiding in people, they just lose who they are. And I did really love the ending. It does end with a message of hope, and it shows Eden kind of becoming more sure of herself, and I just thought it was so beautiful and so powerful, and Amber Smith has become one of my new favorite authors. I actually heard about this book through Emma Books, which is another booktuber, and she had nothing but great things to say about it. I'll definitely be checking out Amber Smith's other book. I'm very grateful to her for writing such an incredible novel. I think this book is very important and something that a lot of people can benefit from reading. So that's all the books I read in the month of June. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below letting me know what books you read this month. If there's any videos that you would like to see, let me know and I'll be happy to do them. That's all for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!